Yesterday's news, July 6. The state of Florida is ordering all schools to open for the fall season, which begins in August. Now, most of us did expect schools to come back in the fall, but we also expected the virus to be gone, to be under control, and not in a pandemic anymore. But that has not happened, and none of this surprises me. Now, I understand the need to open the economy and businesses because things were shut down long enough. Yeah, you might be asking, well, then why are we still in this pandemic? It's because we did the shutdown quarantine for well over a month. All we needed was 3 weeks. The problem is the public didn't follow it. And I spotted this early. Spotted it in my own grocery store. And now we're seeing it just everywhere that a lot of people are not following quarantine or wearing masks. And so here we are. So I understand why businesses have to open. But schools are a different thing. They don't have to open, and they shouldn't open. Schools are a bunch of crap. You shouldn't be sending your kid to schools with a pandemic or without a pandemic. Schools are not the learning centers we are told they are. They are state-run holding compounds for controlling young Americans, controlling them physically, getting them off the streets, and mentally. Schools actually stifle mental growth because while they do teach things, they teach such basic things and then they just keep going over it through the whole school year because they don't want to do much else. You know, the powers that be don't have anything to gain by creating a smart public. I'll get deeper into this, but first let's take a look at this news clip and then the emergency order from the state of Florida. All Florida districts must reopen schools next month. Department of Education says
all schools must reopen come August. That means offering in-person learning 5 days a week.
Hi, Jen. This doesn't really change things here for Hillsborough County because the district was already planning and preparing to reopen campuses next month.
Yes, we were all planning on that, but we still got like 6 weeks until this would happen. So this order makes it official that it will happen, even though it doesn't happen for 6 weeks. It's like the Florida government is saying, we don't care what's going to be going on 6 weeks from now. We must reopen. The schools, bars came first, yes. I guess schools do take at least a lower priority than Florida bars, which had to open back on Memorial Weekend, which is why they're having this COVID-19 surge going on. Their curve is just way up above what it ever was. And the priority of the Florida government is to write this long emergency order. And what makes this real crazy is that schools are such a low priority. They should actually be a negative priority. Schools are a waste. Look at me. School probably did me more damage than good. I'm middle-aged now. I went to every grade, and I am just starting to get my life together. I was a wreck during and after school.
And families, they do still have the option of virtual school if they so choose.
Okay, that's the one good news here, that at least they're still giving you the option to school your kids virtually for now. So kids can get off the hook from this horrible virus, extreme side effects. But teachers cannot. See, they have to be there to offer the service. And they're about to talk about that here.
And I think she is going to be very nervous the entire time.
The order comes after President Trump tweeted Monday afternoon, all caps, that, quote, schools must open in the fall.
Okay, so now we're seeing where it started here. Trump happens to be a citizen of Florida. There's something about that horrible state that he just loves because they're now following his orders. As you see right down here, an emergency order signed by Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran. More about this guy here. Who's this guy? Well, he's an American Republican politician. 2 dirty words there. And he's from Florida, so the guy's just scum. And so he does not care. He's just following orders from the master, as the theme song to The Apprentice says.
Dr. Jason Salemi, a USF epidemiologist, warns with the rising numbers of kids contracting COVID, serious safeguards will need to be put in place.
And then what happens to the teachers? If you're not testing and preventing this from going crazy in the schools and all of the teachers get sick, and a lot of these teachers are in high-risk categories, then what do we do?
A fear echoed by the Florida Teachers Union, telling 8 on Your Side in part, it's clear in communication with our members that educators are scared.
I said something like that a few weeks back, that if a good portion of the U.S. population is sick or dead, then the economy is going to fall apart anyway. And this is exactly what's going to happen, people. I've been warning you. Recent news is this virus, one reason it's still out of control is this virus is different than others. It is not the flu, like Fox News reported over and over. This thing is just super contagious. Scientists are now saying that a lot, like almost half of infection are spread from people who have yet to have symptoms. Very early. You can catch it and then spread it maybe hours later before you know you have it. As we all know, kids are major spreaders, and teachers are going to get this virus. And just like we're still in this mess, months after it should have been over, you can see it happening. Come late October, schools are going to be all shut down again, and we're still going to be in this mess. Now a quick look at the emergency order. Okay, whereas the government of the state of Florida issues executive order ratifying and reaffirming another executive order declaring the state of emergency in response to COVID-19, public health emergency, and whereas education is critical to the success of the state and to the individual, now that is true, but schools are not critical to education, and I'll be getting into that. Extended school closures can impede educational success of students. It can impede a little, but it doesn't have to. Impact families' well-being, limit many parents and guardians from returning to work. What do you mean returning? What about right now? Schools are not just a site of academic learning. I haven't read this. I think I know what's coming. They're also a cesspool of psychological abuse, and you need that. And you'll need to condition your kids young to be able to handle living in Florida. Schools provide many services to students that are critical to the well-being of students and families, such as nutrition. Yeah, that is true. But what about summer? What are they doing now? Just on a fast? Oh, there it is, socialization. Fuck that. Oh, here's the line I saw in the news. There is a need to open schools fully. No, there's not. To ensure the quality and continuity of the educational process. Quality? The comprehensive well-being of students. Comprehensive well-being? What the heck is this bullshit? Where are they getting this language? And a return to Florida hitting its full economic stride. Oh, so money. Yes, I wanted to get into that. The school system seems to be what I could call, and just made up, the scholastic industrial complex. Yes, it's a money-making machine. Schools get funding. They get paid by getting funding from the government. Oh, and I could get into some bad stuff that I don't have time for. Bad things that schools do and colleges. They cover up stuff so that they can keep the funding coming in, not get shut down. I experienced that in my own family. Basically, they ignore abuse. When I finally got out of school, yeah, it seemed like a lifetime. The last thing I wanted to do was learn anything, such as going to college, or even work. I had had enough of having my time stolen from me, being a drone or a zombie. So I mostly watched TV. And as bad as TV might be, I did learn a lot of things. And I played a lot of drums. And that's why I'm an incredible drummer today. I got some videos of that. But what was surprising is less than a year into my vacation, I discovered something about myself. For the first time, I realized that I want to learn things. But school was just not satisfying enough. I actually wanted something more challenging, or something I could really get into. As you can see, that's the kind of person I am. I can't just do things casually. When I make videos, I make great videos and long videos, and a lot of them. I become great at everything I do. While making this video, I came up with that idea in the thumbnail of F school. I just went and found a picture with the paper that was graded F and just added school in. So school really stifled me. But then I started learning on my own, and I never stopped. I have a huge storehouse of information in my mind. So many interests, so many hobbies, and you'll never know it sitting in school all day. It takes up all your time. Now, without school, your kids, they could actually be interested in learning things, discover a career that they're actually interested in, which I never did. That's one of the biggest problems that I had. And there's just much better ways to learn. And people are finding this out. It's no joke. YouTube is just a great way to learn things. Sure, there's a lot of crap on YouTube, and it's become a worse place. But if you just search for a how-to video or an educational video, you'll find a bunch, and there's some good quality out there. Just yesterday, by coincidence, and it's one of the reasons I decided to go ahead and make this video. Yesterday, I wanted to brush up on filing taxes, because I got a new situation, like I said. Things are coming together, making more money. And I never knew much about tax. So I watched some videos on it on YouTube, and I saw in the comments, a lot of comments saying, why doesn't school teach this stuff? And yeah, school is mostly meant to make it to where you'll be able to hold down a job, because that's what's important to the government. You know, if you mess up on your taxes, well, that only helps the government. They just don't teach you stuff that isn't in the country's interest. Never stuff that's just in your interest to make life easier for you. They could do it with all that time spent. Your kids could do so much better. And while you can learn almost anything on YouTube, your kids might even find that they like reading. They probably do read. I think kids read more because of the internet. You just want to be careful not to push them too much. You know, just have a schedule, a loose schedule, like say 4 days a week, and it's year-round. Right, if you're efficient enough, 3 hours, 4 days a week, that's not much. You won't need a vacation, and then there won't be a shock going back to school. I always hated that. Just give them a list of just a bunch of things that they should know, and they can get to it when they want, in the order they want. Much easier. They'll be more likely to do it, to pay attention, and probably absorb it better. Oh yeah. School makes it so that you don't absorb stuff. Which brings me to this story I remembered yesterday. Someone in the comments, he said something about years of school to know how many atoms are in a proton. I hope he was joking. Because I quickly realized that he didn't know what he was talking about there, because I know about atoms. And then I was thinking, yeah, there was some place I learned it real easily, and it wasn't in school. I never learned that in school. I learned it real easy somewhere else, and I couldn't remember. It took me like 30 seconds to think, a long time ago. And then I remembered. It was the TV show WKRP in Cincinnati. I think I was in my late teens. DJ, Venus Flytrap, showed someone in the studio how easy it is to teach people the makeup of an atom. And that was 30 years ago, and I never forgot it. It took like 40 seconds. And it goes like this. An atom is made of a nucleus and electrons that circle it. The nucleus is protons and neutrons, and the whole atom will have the same amount of electrons as protons. And the amount of all of these things together decides what element the atom is. 1 proton and electron gives you a hydrogen atom. 8 electrons and protons gives you an oxygen atom. Then I even started studying this on my own and learned stuff like if you put those 2 atoms together and add another hydrogen atom, you get 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, which is H2O. And when I'd learn other stuff, I'd couple it together with that, and it would increase my learning after that. And right there shows you the failure of schools, when there's so much potential that is wasted. The only issue left is, what about a high school diploma? And in this world, I don't take for granted that people would know basic things that I know, especially in the world today. I think I've made this mistake on my channel too much over the years. So I'm sure there's people out there that do not know about the GED. The E stands for equivalence. Some people have the wrong idea, wrong impression of the GED. It is an equivalent. So like when you're applying for a job and you put that in, that is equivalent to a diploma. I did this. I would say that having a GED is actually a better indicator of your knowledge and intelligence than going through, just sitting there in the classroom in high school and just squeaking by. Speaking of YouTube and my own educational channel, I'd like everyone to please watch my last video if you haven't already. It needs to get a lot more views, or at least share it. I put a huge amount of time into it, and for good reason. You'll actually be helping society, and it needs all the help it can get now, because the government is not helping. But that's what the purpose of governments are. So we now need to step up